There was a time in my life when I didn't feel chosen. I felt hidden. I was doing what I was told, showing up where I was placed, trying to be faithful in the small things. On the outside, everything looked fine, but on the inside, I carried a quiet question. Why am I here? What if my life was never meant to be more than this moment? That's when the story of Esther began to feel less like history and more like a mirror. Esther didn't start as a queen. She started as an orphan, unnoticed, unprotected, and raised by her cousin Mordecai. She had no royal blood, no influence, no voice in the room. Yet somehow, God's hand was already moving long before she understood her purpose. And that's what struck me the most. Because I too had moments where I felt overlooked, moments where I was in rooms I didn't ask to be in, walking paths I didn't choose, wondering if God had truly seen me. Like Esther, I learned that placement does not always feel like purpose. At first, when Esther was taken into the palace, she was told to be quiet. Don't reveal who you are. Don't speak too soon. Just wait. I understood that kind of waiting. The kind where you know there's something inside you, faith, calling, strength, but you're unsure when or how to release it. The kind where silence feels safer than obedience, where fear whispers, if you speak up, you might lose everything. Then came the turning point. A threat rose against Esther's people, one that could destroy them completely. Suddenly, her position wasn't just a blessing, it was a responsibility. Mordecai's words reached her heart like a divine interruption. Who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Esther 4:14. That question echoes in my own life. What if the place I'm in, the job, the waiting season, the uncertainty, is not accidental? What if God didn't elevate me for comfort, but for courage? What if my silence costs more than my obedience? Esther realized something powerful. God had already positioned her before the problem appeared, and that realization changed everything. She fasted, she prayed, she surrendered fear for faith. And when she finally spoke, it wasn't with arrogance, it was with humility and courage. She didn't know if the king would listen, she didn't know if she would survive, but she knew God. If I perish, I perish. Esther 4:16. That line still shakes me, because sometimes obedience doesn't come with guarantees, only trust. Like Esther, I've had moments where stepping forward meant risking comfort, approval, or security. Moments where faith demanded more than belief. It demanded action. And here's the part that gives me chills every time. When Esther spoke, the entire story shifted. The enemy's plan was overturned. What was meant for destruction became deliverance. God didn't just save his people, he exposed the enemy and rewrote the ending. And it made me wonder, how many times has God been waiting for my obedience to change the outcome? How many prayers are connected to courage I haven't yet released? Esther's story reminds me that God often hides his greatest moves inside ordinary people. That preparation can look like silence, that elevation comes before revelation, and that purpose often reveals itself in moments of fear. But here's where the story pauses, not ends. Because Esther's courage didn't stop with one brave moment. Her influence didn't end when the enemy fell. God's hand continued to unfold through her life in ways that history would never forget. And just like Esther, neither does ours.